Welcome to the Dive Bar. Before we get into anything, because there's a ton to cover, like we were just talking backstage, this is probably the most conversational pieces we've had in 6 months, easy. Shout out to Eric, our producer, him and his beautiful wife. Welcome to healthy baby boy into this world. EJ, we love you already, buddy. Shout out Eric, we're thinking about y'all. And I won't hold us up anymore, but I will say this. We're excited to finally officially announce Outcast Cigars, our official sponsor for 2026. Couldn't be more happy for, their belief in us and their support, and happy to team up with them. And I guess let's get into it.
I'm putting the helmet on as always.
The opportunity is right now.
Terrific defensive play. Intercepted. Off the block. Two on the move. Going deep. Speed race. He's got Hill. He's got Hill. The Dolphins have recaptured the lead.
Smoking in the house, bro.
Let's go, boys. Let's get into it. We got Wingo on the set tonight. Wingo, what's going on, brother?
No, just another day, another dollar.
Dude, Bobby lighting that cigar, I was hoping for a blooper so bad. It was actually too smooth. Like, it was
I didn't think he was going to be able to light it as fast. I thought he was going to be sitting there just like. And it was
Hey, not that I need to shout him out anymore, but shout out to Outcast. They also came through with the 4-torch lighter. This thing can light anything, son.
Dude, that thing is insane.
You lit
it
that
up
instantly. I was like, okay, cool. All right.
like Iron Man's hand blowing up.
I'm glad y'all thought it was that smooth, because personally, I felt super uncomfortable and like I botched it. So like, awesome. Glad to hear everything is good.
Now you did a good job. You lit that cigar as fast as I would like us to hire John Harbaugh. Can we just get into it, boys?
Yeah, big news. Everyone's
All right,
talking about
I would like to start the set with Wingo, kind of talking about how this is all going to go down, because from a ageist perspective, this offseason could be nuts for us. So I just kind of want to get your ideas on the pulse of the fans. I mean, for the Dolphins, for the fans. All right.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you look at all these head coaches getting fired, right, it's almost like college kids hitting the transfer portal. Right, they're going around, hopping around. You're not winning season. You're not having a winning season. You're out of there. And you look at a team like the Miami Dolphins, right? Always 500, maybe a little bit below, maybe slightly over, with an amazing coach like Harbaugh. We would love to see that kind of happen. We would really love to see that happen. I know he loves being down in the city of Miami. He spent some time down here on vacation. So, I could see it being a topic of conversation being brought up. I know somebody brought up a little bit of little things on Twitter. I saw of Lamar Jackson going to Miami. That would be a nice little 2 for 2. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool to see those things, and then knowing some stuff in the background. It's like, transitioning from, Baltimore over to Miami, right? What can we do now? Who's already on contract? We are looking at a bunch of different GMs, right? They finally announced that list of guys that they're interviewing. So that's cool to see that's public for everybody to, do their background research, right? For fans to be like, okay, who is this? What has he accomplished? What has he done in his background? Is that the potential to kind of picture it, right? Look in the future and be like, okay, that guy's had a successful organization. Maybe he can do that down here in Miami. And then seeing a guy like Harbaugh, right? Being successful out there in Baltimore, everything that he's done, just to picture it looks amazing. I can see it already. So hopefully, we can get something done. I'm hoping.
Hey, Bobby, Eric's not here tonight, but is there any way you can go on Twitter and pull up the last post I posted with Harbaugh in a Miami sweater?
Yeah,
because I think the chat needs it.
I think that's blowing up. And while you do that, what I thought Ross was doing was when he didn't come out and make that outright statement like he did last year. He gave us that long-winded poem about how He believes in this organization and Greer and McDaniel. When we didn't get something from Ross, I'm like, he's probably waiting to see what's going to be available. And the Ravens could have went either way with Harbaugh. If they win that game with the Steelers, he's 100% staying, obviously, but they didn't, and they kind of lost it in like a very Ravens-esque fashion. And I think Ross was kind of just waiting to see if his guy would be available. I'm sure that he called Jim and his Michigan buddies. He's like, yo, need your brother's number real quick. I gotta talk to him.
Come on, boy. Come on.
I didn't even see the hat that you put on him. I know you.
Gronk did that.
Dude, so Nick Hicks makes a joke because I actually at first I only had the Jim Harbaugh edit from last year, so I posted that immediately because I was so hyped, and people started calling me out. I'm like,
that was crazy, Joe.
I was like, fuck it, let me try Gronk. I'm not good at this stuff, but let me try. So I just asked Gronk to swap his shirt out. I forgot about the hat, and Nick Hicks, of course, goes, oh, I love that hat, and it was a Ravens hat. So I asked Gronk, I said, put a Dolphin hat on him, and Gronk cooked.
He put a Dolphin hat on him. But
that was very literal.
I think that's the best move. I mean, I'm 100. Like Bobby said, he put it the best like last Tuesday when we talked about McDaniel getting fired or staying. And he was like, I'm fine with either. But right now I'm not fine with McDaniel staying. And when Harbaugh's available, you open that checkbook. Barry just put out a tweet. McDaniel's getting paid when he's getting paid. Being a fired head coach is one of the best gigs in the NFL. Okay. Like you take 3 years off, you're still getting paychecks 3 years down the road. He's a grown man. He'll understand, but bring John Harbaugh to Miami. That's the train I'm on.
That's the second best job in the world. The best job in the world is being an NIL agent. I mean, come on. Come on. I mean, let's be honest here.
I don't know about making the same salary yet, but yeah, it's definitely pretty cool.
Mike's not hanging out with the boys on Tuesday night either. So, like, you know.
And listen, we have a great corporate structure, and they have a ladder that we can climb. So, I mean, at the end of the day, Bobby might be cooking there.
The ladder's not.
Room.
Let me ask you guys a question, though. Let me ask you guys a question. If you're the Ravens, how do you let Harbaugh go?
It comes a time, right? I mean, like, as much as you're a Dolphins fan, so it seems crazy.
Yeah, I was about to say.
They've had 3 coaches in like 60 years. So, like, right. They know what greatness looks like. And sometimes the marriage just kind of hits the head so far that you just got to, like, pause. You kind of just got to regroup, and that's what they're doing. And they'll find the next diamond in the rough and make him to be the next great coach, and they'll have sustainability for 20 years with the awesome GM and infrastructure. And it doesn't make sense to us because we're not used to anything good, but for them, you know, you got to draw a line, and you know what excellent looks like. So you know what the standard is in your program. And hey, today was that day, apparently.
The thing with Harbaugh for me is was there a relationship issue with Lamar? Like, this is the thing is we don't really know much about what's going on back there in Baltimore. So it's kind of tough to like get a grasp on it. Cause in a perfect world, it sounds great to say, oh, Harbaugh's coming, so's Lamar. But how's that relationship? Is that why are they keeping Lamar and kind of dishing out Harbaugh? Like, that's kind of where I'm at right now as well.
Yeah, I think there's definitely had to have been something going around in the background that people don't realize or don't know about. Because just to make a decision so big like that, it had to have been, you know, brought up previously, right? It had to have been brought up during the season. Hey, right, if we're not successful, we're not able to make that next step into the playoffs, you know, we're moving forward. Like, this has to have been a conversation that's been ongoing for them to kind of pull the trigger that kind of fast. So I don't know about the relationship with Lamar and Harbaugh. You know, but I would say it had to have been something that's been ongoing for a while. But it would be cool to see it get done down in Miami.
Heck yeah, man. Another thing I'm thinking about, how would you guys feel if Harbaugh retained Weaver, if we do get Harbaugh?
I personally want to see those 2 comp picks in the 3rd round. If he wants to go be a head coach somewhere, I'm fine with that. And let Harbaugh bring in his guy. Harbaugh's, you know, obviously he's got a
Wasn't he a Harbaugh guy though?
He was a Harbaugh guy, and he's great.
Okay.
He might be the Ravens head coach in 3 days.
Yeah, so I would love to see Weaver go get his head coaching job, and you know, we get our 2 comp picks, 2 3rd-round picks, and just have John fill that position. I mean, that would be fantastic. I think that would put us at 4 3rd-round picks for the draft this year alone, and then an extra one next year. But yeah, I mean, he could retain him. They obviously got a long-standing relationship, but I think Ross needs to get John Harbaugh in the building tomorrow. immediately if he's not on a flight already.
Now, maybe Derek can answer this one. As far as the GM search goes, like, do we have to secure a GM first? Is that like a thing that we should be doing? Like, is this kind of cucking us in a way to where, like, shit, we still have McDaniel, we're actually looking for a GM. How the hell do we try to go for Harbaugh now? Like, how does that work, you think?
Yeah, so I would say, yes and no, right? When you do have a GM, right, you're calling a lot of different shots, you're making different moves and things like that. But when you look at an NFL office, right, there's so many different moving pieces to the puzzle that it's almost like a big round surround tables and we go around and kind of get it figured out, right? So there's the owners, there's the different coaches that are already there, there's the assistant GM, there's all these different people that are helping making that decision. So they're kind of collectively getting that done right now until they're able to make that decision. So the biggest thing for the Dolphins right now is they're looking at, they released that list of guys that they're looking at, but they cannot go wrong, right? They cannot screw this up. So they need to make sure that they take their time, their due diligence to go through the list, interview all these guys and pick the right one, because they know if they mess this up, it's not going to be good for them. So be able to take that time and make that right. While that's happening, they're kind of in the background, kind of making plans and devising and maybe making a few moves here and there. And then once that new GM does come in, that's when they're able to kind of either pull the trigger or then just at least clarify with him to get the things done.
And I think you posted earlier about this. There was one GM, I think it was the Chargers GM, that has ties to Harbaugh.
Yeah,
he does.
You want to elaborate on that one?
Well, he was what was he?
under Ozzie Newsome.
Yeah, he was
Look,
under.
if you guys are wondering, I'm asking a bunch of questions because
he was under
right?
Ozzie Newsome. So, Bob, you know more about that relationship.
It's pretty cut and dry. I mean, he was under Ozzie Newsome. He left Baltimore. I guess Ozzie Newsome moved on, and he moved on. He went to LA. Obviously, the infrastructure in LA now kind of fits what we want on the next generation: physical trench play, physical defense. So it's kind of the thing people were talking about in the chat, if that's what you're referring to too, is it was kind of perfect timing that it came out that we also want to interview Chad Alexander, and an hour later, John Harbaugh gets fired, and they have a, direct correlation. And you got people like Daniel Jeremiah coming out, who's respected in the industry, saying, that could be a perfect combination if you're looking to rebuild a front office. And I would even say that's where the Dolphins have the advantage. We have both openings potentially if we were going to go after John Harbaugh. Obviously, we have Mike right now, but if you make that decision, now you have both openings. I think that's leverage. I think you can sell that to people much better than, hey, we got Mike. We kind of want you to work with that. What do you think? It's a lot easier when you have, also we got Chad Alexander. If that's who you want, we'll go get him right now. Like, that's not an issue, right, John. So I think it kind of helps us in that sense.
Yeah, because I would assume that head coach and GM relationship is like everything when it comes to that draft room and everything like that. And I feel like we haven't had that cohesiveness that we need in order for everybody to be on the same page, which is why Greer left so early and why I think, unfortunately, I think McDaniel's gone. Now, if McDaniel's gone tomorrow, that means that we're all in for Harbaugh. Whether we get Harbaugh or not,
sure.
Yes, that's a clear indicator.
Even with Chad Alexander and I know Daniel Jeremiah, that was pretty cool seeing him put that out there. He was like, this is like a match made in heaven. And I mean, like, Chad Alexander was with the Ravens for a long time. I mean, he was the assistant director of pro personnel over there. So like, he does evaluate talent, and he has evaluated talent before, and for very good teams for the Ravens, Super Bowl teams for the Ravens. So it's like chicken before the egg, or the wagon before the horse, whatever you want to say. It's like, what do you do first? Is us not having a GM in the building right now, other than Champ Kelly, obviously, is that kind of hurting our coaching search?
Yeah,
I think. Go ahead.
I have a question for you too. I think this ties a little bit to the quarterback situation, right? And you got to realize that the GM coming in, they got to think about who's playing quarterback. And if it's not Tua, how are you going to deal with this dead cap space, right? That is a huge play. And when you're kind of managing this cap, managing the roster, who's getting paid, who's getting extensions, who are we bringing in? And with that whole situation, that's something that they have to be willing to step into and understand that, hey, I'm in for something here and I got to figure it out. If I don't figure it out, everyone's going to be looking at me when really, you're fighting an uphill battle already as it begins.
I mean, if I'm Ross, that's one of the first questions I'm asking. How are you going to get us out of this fucking hole? That's the first question I'm asking.
I do think it looks rough right now, but I also do believe like 12 months is a very delicious situation as a Dolphins GM. I think you're going to have abundance of assets, maybe even more depending on how big of a sell you have this year. The dead cap's going to start peeling back a little bit. You start getting some of that back. And I think Wingo hit it earlier too, as far as the collaboration of the six, the group of six we got working the GM race. You're gonna bring this up. You talk to John Harbaugh, you're gonna talk to him about what he wants. You talk to the GM, you're gonna talk about what they kind of want, their vision, and you're gonna know what matches before it ever gets to the point of it being a problem. So I don't think it's gonna be much of an issue there.
I kind of posted something on Twitter, and it was just like a rational way to go about this next year is obviously Tua has that dead cap space. I think the most rational thing is you keep Tua on the roster, you give him a short leash. Obviously, if McDaniel's not here, we got a head coach, but you also give McDaniel a short leash if he stays. That was the whole thing, but now Harbaugh's here, whatever. And you just play the season with Tua. You build a season for Tua. Worst thing that can happen is the same thing that happened this year, and then you build for next year. You get your guys. You're out of that contract in 2027, like reasonably at least. But the best thing that could happen is like you catch fire. Tua gets back to 2023 form. You have a new coach. You have a new culture. We have 5 picks in the first 3 rounds this year alone. You hit on at least 3 of those picks. You get some starters in the building. All of our draft class last year, I know Greer's not in the building anymore, but every single player in our draft class from 2025 played snaps this year. I don't think that any team has done that this year. So I think that's my take on it with the Tua contract is probably not going to get out of it this year. He's probably going to be on the roster. And start the season as a starting quarterback, or at least competing for the starting job, as Coach Speak would say. But I think that's the best route, the most rational route.
Yeah. And if you think, go ahead, Michael.
Well, I was just pulling it up too because I remember it was the June 1st is when the cap cut is, so they would have to designate him after that cap, and it'll be able to save them and spread it out to the 26 and 27 season. And if they didn't do that, then it would hit them fully in the 26 season. So that's what they're going to have to do.
Let me make one simple stance here. I'm still cutting Tua. I do not care how much it costs. June 1st, January 6th, July 4th, don't care. I'm cutting Tua. You've seen his comments too. Like, it's over. It's over, fellas. He's talking about it would be. You got a $250 million 6 months or a year and a half ago, and now you're saying it would be dope to get a fresh start. Like,
but maybe he needs a fresh start with Harbaugh.
No. Harbaugh's not putting over that shit.
I'm playing devil's advocate. I don't fully believe that. Hand up, that's on me. I don't really believe that. I'm ready. What I was gonna say though is like no matter what, next year's kind of a dead year for us. I don't see us like making the playoffs next year. So what Ghost is saying actually kind of does make sense financially. Mm-hmm. Maybe a lot of people won't be happy about it, but financially it makes sense. And I think that we haven't made sense financially for a lot of years. So, it's the boring route. It is the boring route, unfortunately, unless he does come back to the 2023 form. But that is probably the right way to go. Now, I want Harbaugh and I want to get rid of Tua, yes, but that's probably the right way to go.
Unless somehow Lamar Jackson comes back to Miami.
Yeah, and listen, at the end of the day, we're Miami fans. We are the kings of hopium. Yeah. And we will be pounding the table for Harbaugh and Lamar until it's not available. That's just the way we rock. Now, I did want to get into the rest of the GMs, though. I don't know if anybody could pull up a list for everybody.
Yeah, we could. We could start with
Now, listen, I'm probably the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to this conversation, right? Because I'm that fan that I don't know GMs, dude. I don't know what GMs. I don't know what makes a GM better than the other GM. Like, and most of these guys are working under successful organizations already, so it's kind of hard to dictate like who's going to be the best GM, right? So it's a very interesting topic, and I'm hoping you guys can give me a little insight on it.
I think it's more of just taking the platform from another organization and bringing it there, and then once you have it there, it's tweaking in your own ways and how it fits the system in the building. So they're looking at a team like, right, the San Francisco 49ers, right? They have a good system and how they manage everything. So that's why they're looking at these 3 guys that are a little bit lower, that are looking to take that next step in the job position. Hey, can we bring that same, backbone and that skeleton down here to Miami and then tweak it those small different ways that fits us? but kind of have that in the projection to go in the right kind of way.
You know what intrigues me about Tariq Ahmed from he's the Niners player personnel over in San Francisco is look at San Francisco, right? And then you look at the Miami Dolphins. I know it's like they don't have much in common, but what's the one thing they have in common every single year that happens to them?
Injuries.
And where are the San Francisco 49ers right now with a team that he helped build?
You stole. I was going to say something about that, dude. No, you're right.
Despite injuries, the 49ers year after year are perennially in the playoffs. Like that stands out to me when I look at like Tariq Ahmed. I almost forgot his first name.
Yeah, people are so fired up because they're like, "Oh, this just means they're catering to Mike again." They're not even looking past that. That's exactly what I thought. I was like, "Dude, San Fran probably has worse injury problems than us."
And they have that depth.
They just churn people out all over the field and make it work. Now, Kyle Shanahan has a little bit to do with that, but
remember the year when I wasn't sure if it was last year, the year before, when Christian McCaffrey got hurt, and it was like every running back that they signed or at least had on their practice squad roster kept getting hurt. They were down to the fifth guy. Don't even know his name, but he ran for like 120 yards. Like that's scouting talent, that's depth building, and you're building a team for those December, January runs when a lot of your guys probably aren't going to be available. And I think that's what really stood out to me was despite injuries, they are still, in the playoffs, and they're a dangerous team in the playoffs. It's not like they backed into playoffs.
I mean, dude, look at Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason was a backup of the backup of the backup, and now he's featured in Minnesota almost.
Yep. No, he is.
Yeah. I mean, Aaron Jones is still there, but you know what I mean.
Well, Aaron Jones missed most of the season this year, so Jordan Mason was the primary back again. So he kind of fell into that twice.
So earlier today, Bobby got me to fall in love with Sullivan. Bobby sold me on Sullivan. I'd like you to sell the crowd on Sullivan.
It don't take much selling. It's pretty simple. I mean, based on I'm trying to change our problems and the direction the way we've been doing things for years. There's nobody better, and the Packers have been like this forever. Like no one builds through the draft. It makes an emphasis to build through a draft like the Packers. And Sullivan, you listen to his sit downs, his interviews. That's all he talks about. Your moneymaker is the draft. If you can't do right in the draft, nothing else is going to work. You can't hope to fix all your problems with money, free agency signings, big trades. Although they did go get Parsons, which was very uncharacteristic for the Packers. But, when you think you're one move away, you go and do stuff like that. But for me, Sullivan, dude, Packers, they just do it right. They draft. They don't have very many misses. They always have great depth, and they have the perfect philosophy over there. Draft. Everything else after that.
Would anybody disagree with him? I mean, the only reason I would disagree would be like, the issue being Green Bay's been so good for so long. Like, is he really one of the reasons they've been good, or is he just part of the like a cog in the machine? I'm playing devil's advocate here. I don't know, but like that's the only thing that scares me with some of these guys is like, dude, you're already part of a well-oiled machine. Like, what are you really doing? Like, are you really changing shit over there, or are you just falling in line?
You know what I like about the Packers and the way they run their organization? And it's kind of like completely opposite of the way that Miami handled things, especially like with the 2022 offseason, 2023 offseason. It's like the Packers have a very, very patient franchise. Like when things kind of go wrong or they like lose a player, they're looking for immediate fixes after playoff losses, or they're looking for immediate fixes with injuries. It's like they don't go out and have those explosive off seasons, but they still contend for the division year after year. And it's a very good division. It's been a good division for years. And it's like they don't have that panic to them that the Miami Dolphins do. Like, we're going to give albeit they were good players, but like we're going to do the Tyreek Hill trade, we're going to do the Bradley Chubb trade, we're going to do this and that and this. And it's like you don't see the Packers do that,
Right.
Also, they're a couple steps ahead. Like Jordan Love was sitting on ice while Aaron Rodgers was playing quarterback.
It's true. They're very patient. They're very patient with their franchise. They build with intent to like, hey, 5 years from now, what's this going to look like?
Yes.
So I think it's just a patience that we haven't seen with this franchise. Even like you go back to like Mike Wallace signings and like Brandon Marshall and those guys.
I was super hype about. Let me be completely honest here.
So I think there's a patience with the Packers organization that could benefit that like fast-paced, quick fix in Miami that we've seen over the past years.
And again, it starts with Greer.
The last thing I'll say is it ain't so much like he's the main reason the Packers do well or whatever for me, but it's kind of like why you want somebody from Detroit, why you want somebody from San Fran, because those guys have been in buildings where they've seen the winning culture. They know the blueprint. They've seen what's in place to create these things. So while, yes, you can't have the main piece because the main piece is doing his thing in Detroit. The main piece is doing his thing in Green Bay. You're not going to get that. But your next best hope is, let me get one of those pieces of the cog, one of those links of the chain, bring him here, and hopefully he knows that blueprint and he puts it in place here. And yeah, you could miss it. That's always a possibility, especially with first time anything. So, but that's my reason for leaning kind of towards Sullivan so far.
Heard. You know what's kind of funny too is the complete opposite end of Sullivan is McKay from the Rams. You look at what the Rams have done over the past few years. I don't think they picked in the first round in like six straight drafts. So like that's kind of the way Miami has been building teams, but they do have that creativity. Like maybe he can come in, help us survive that Tua extension, help us survive the Tyreek hit that's going to happen in the Waddle overlap years. He's comfortable with sacrificing all those future picks, which basically already
but pull up a picture of him. It scares the living fucking shit out of me.
It already fits. Miami's like.
But every other candidate, that's why I also like Sullivan. And this is shitty to say, and it means absolutely nothing at the end of the day.
It means a little something to me.
You put Sullivan next to all the other candidates, and they all look a little quirky. Y'all always hate on McDaniel. You'll hate these guys. If you Google them and actually look at them instead of just thinking, I love this name or that regime or that franchise, you're gonna be like, oh hell, I don't know. So,
I did post about Sullivan lifting, so
I Googled Sullivan.
That's my scouting right there.
I swear I Googled Sullivan. I was like, football guy.
Yep.
With that being said, if Harbaugh wants Alexander, I'm in. So it's one of those. It's a funny situation. But we got to fire McDaniel first. So we're talking ahead of ourselves, which is what we do here on this podcast. Welcome to the Dive Bar. Please don't forget to like and subscribe at your leisure.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get hype over the absolute worst.
But it just is funny that like we have two polar opposite GMs that would probably be both great at their job in Miami. One follows the Miami blueprint and actually has been successful at it. The other one is the opposite of the Miami blueprint that we've seen over the last 6 years and is very patient and has had success with it. So it's like, what's Miami doing wrong?
And another interesting guy that we haven't talked about yet is the Hallaby character.
Yeah, which someone posted a clip of him stuttering and said him and Mike are a perfect fit.
Yeah, that scares the shit out of me too.
He's so Hallaby's like a super analytical guy because I live in the Northeast, so a lot of Eagles fans, and there's some like dedicated Eagles fans around here. And I mean, he's more of like your modern analytical guy. And then the first guy that comes to mind is the new Jags GM. Okay, he came in and now look at the Jaguars. He's only had a year, but he's a young analytical guy, just like Hallaby. He brings that modern approach to roster building, all that stuff. So that's my take on him. But the one thing they have all in common, like the Packers, the Rams, the Eagles, even the Niners, it's like winning culture. They've all had recent winning cultures.
I think the winning culture is really coming down to when I look at some of these teams, it's coming down to depth, right? These teams have depth on their roster, and they're also rotating guys. They're having fresh legs. I think when I look at a team like the Jaguars, they've had, big time guys playing and then guys rotating in to get them fresh legs, but that are still competing and still making big time plays. And that the longevity of the season is just so long and it helps you avoid injuries. And if you do have injuries, it's not like, I feel like down here in Miami, it's like someone gets hurt. It's like, oh, season's over. We're done. We can't do anything else from here. And it's like some of these other teams, like you look at the 49ers again, Christian McCaffrey gets hurt and they have other guys that can step into the same system, right? The same program, run the same kind of plays, maybe adjust it a little bit to their character. You look at Mac Jones coming in with the 49ers when Brock Purdy was hurt, right? He was able to dice it up and do the same exact thing. And then when Brock Purdy comes back, he steps right back into the shoes and is able to do it. So I think it's more about the system, having depth, and just having really guys just buying into the program at the end of the day.
Dude, what about that tight end they have too that was just balling? Tungan? What's his name?
Something.
Bro, he just came in and looked just like Kittle. It's just
they got like three tight ends over there. They got
it's crazy over there, man.
And Tongues.
And Ayuk was out before the season.
Yeah.
Pretty Ricky's been out for a while.
He's basically been out all season. I know because he was on my fantasy team. Shout out the McConkeys Honkies. And Jawan Jennings. Jawan Jennings looks like damn near wide receiver 1 out there. I mean, that dude's been me and Bob were talking about because he was on his team. He's touchdown vulture, that guy. He stole so many touchdowns from CMC.
Let me just go over this real quick so I can pull this picture down.
Yeah.
So everybody knows this is John McKay, not the guy in the middle, not even the guy to the left. The guy on the right is the assistant GM for the Rams.
He looks like Temu Zach Wilson.
So that's
a good one.
He comes from a great pedigree. Like he's like 3rd generation football family. Like they're like football analytical dudes. But young, as you see, doesn't look like your average football guy. But hey, that's all I'm saying. Take a second and maybe Google what you're looking at, and it doesn't mean anything. This might be the best GM in football. I mean, the Jaguars, they got bashed last offseason for the guy they went with, young, quirky, all that stuff. Sure. That dude's on fire. Like they did like all this stuff. The coach was yelling Duval. They were getting cooked. Now look, they're running things. So like, it doesn't mean everything. I'm just saying it blew me away a little bit when I see an old boy on the right. That's all I'm saying, really.
All I know is if our stadium gets changed, like the name gets changed to Geek Squad, that would be pretty cool.
Geek Squad
McDaniel,
stadium.
this guy, we're sponsored by Geek Squad.
Geek Squad stand up. But yeah, I think what it comes down to too, and it's a little bit exciting as Dolphins fans, and it's a low bar to be excited as a Dolphins fan. You can step over it. But they're bringing in some dudes. They're bringing in some guys that can change the culture of this franchise. They understand how to build a roster the correct way. It's just which way do you want to go? You got the analytical guy, you got the knee-jerk guy, but very good at sacrificing picks down the road for success now. And then you have the patient GMs. They're bringing the right guys down. I think that's the most important point.
Another team that's been decimated by injuries all year were the Ravens.
Yeah.
And they were still fighting at the end.
Yeah.
They were a Tyler Loop field goal away from still playing.
Dude, those replies to his Instagram are absolutely wild. Did you read them, bro?
No.
Holy fuck.
No, man.
Gotta turn the comments.
It was bad, dude. It was really bad.
Poor kid, dude.
I mean,
Poor
dude,
kid.
I thought the Ravens for sure had that.
Same thing.
Who do you guys like in the playoffs, man? Like all right, let's do this first. Who's everybody's sneaky team in the AFC and sneaky team in the NFC?
As I said two episodes ago, 3 episodes ago, maybe, it's the Texans.
Yes, you've been riding with the Texans.
Is unbelievably built for a January and February run, no matter where they play football. Dude, that defensive line is one of the best defensive lines in the past 20 years.
Jesus Christ, yeah, it's crazy.
It's unbelievable watching them play. It's crazy.
Fair. What about on the NFC? Can we see the Panthers squeak it out on the Rams?
No.
I don't know why, man. They've been a weird team this year. I might have to go on record and say that's going to be my upset of the week.
The Panthers remind me of the 2023 Dolphins so much, so I can just see what's going to happen in that game. But that's really the 2023 the Panthers now remind me of the 2023 Dolphins.
I just think their defense is really good.
It is, but I just don't see that happening. When you get to the playoffs, these quarterbacks just like strap it up, like go here, and like Bryce Young, in my opinion, is not going there. And Matt Stafford just going to do what he does. Like the Rams are.
Shout out to the chat.
MVP.
I confuse you 2000. Just wants to remind everybody that the Panthers beat the Rams in the regular season. Just want to make sure we're on the same page. I didn't even know that. Just so we're clear, didn't even know that. I have to be better at my job, but I do feel like I do feel like that could happen. Out of all the upsets, that's what I'm going off of. And not a sneaky team, but people just disrespect the shit out of the Jags.
Gump always stopping in, man. We appreciate you, man. Always stopping in to the feeds.
Sir Per.
Gump always waits. He's so calculated. Like he's watching. He's just waiting for his one moment to drop his one comment.
It's always good too.
And I will say, Gumpy's always riding with me.
Yeah.
Moral support, if nothing else.
Thank you so much.
The last thing I want to go back and say this though. We had fun on it, but like I do agree with Ghost. They finally are doing the obvious thing. Like that group of GMs, they got to bring in is like spade for spade, the best 6 you could possibly come up with. Like, if you can't find a GM, you got bigger issues. Like they finally did the obvious thing, and that's a very solid group. Who cares if they're 4'8" or anything else? Like,
Dude, I'm not gonna lie though. I was a little confused last night because Barry Jackson was cooking. He's been cooking like the last 24 hours, like all over the place. He had one tweet where he was like, "Okay, McDaniel has confirmed that he'll be in the hiring process." Then this morning he tweets, "Confirmed, McDaniel's not going to be part of it." And I'm like, dude, we don't like. This is like probably my favorite time of year because we never really go to the playoffs. So it's been one of those off seasons where it's like it's the first week of the playoffs and it's already the off season like heavy.
Mhm.
And I think the NFL off season is going to be nuts this year.
Yeah. We don't have any money, so it doesn't matter. But
No, I'm
hopefully-
just saying in general. Just in general, not the Dolphins.
Yeah, no,
not the
I got
Dolphins.
you. I'm just put it out there. Going to be quiet in free agency.
This year, it's more about signing some front office and head coach stuff. Like, it's not about the players right now. Like, I think we do have a really good young core. I know it sounds shitty, but we do. We have a really good young core. Speaking of depth earlier, like, now we do have a rotational D-line. Like, it is nice. We had some guys go out in the O-line this year. And you know what? Guys stepped up and the O-line looked good this year. I mean, can we all agree that the O-line, D-line, at the end of the day, looked pretty good as a whole?
A lot of
We
coverage
have
sacks.
something to build off of. I
Yeah.
really do feel that way. If you guys want to start talking a little bit, we really need a wide receiver one. Like, we need a big body wide receiver one bad.
Carnell
Me
Tate
and Bobby
might
were
be
talking
there.
earlier. Dude, Carnell Tate, I'm all in on him.
Might be there. But Caleb Downs is going to be there. Caleb Downs
If
is
you
going to be
know a
there.
guy who might represent him, dude, it would be really cool if we could talk to him.
a little pre-draft. That was a little
If
sneaky snake.
anybody knows Carnell Tate, that'd be really cool if you could speak on him.
My thing is,
Wingo, what's up, buddy?
Yeah,
Oh,
but that would
yeah.
be sick. That would definitely be sick to have him down here in Miami. I know he's out next nose training right now.
Heck yeah.
Getting it done. It's exciting to be in the background, being able to speak to some of these teams, knowing what the draft order looks like, seeing who's going to trade up, seeing who's going to be left. There's a lot of important meetings going on as we speak.
ooh,
So I'm super excited. I'm checking my phone. So I'm back and forth checking my phone right now to make sure. But yeah, we're excited. Carnell's a beast, man. Not only does he just look the part, being able to see him in person, he's gotten putting on weight. He's gotten a lot bigger. He can move. He's got great hands. He's fast off the ball. He's a physical receiver, wants to go up and get it. I think he would be a huge addition. I think that's what Miami really needs is, an outside receiver, right? You have guys like Waddle and Tyreek that can be in the slot. But when you look at like a guy like McMillan with the Panthers, right? Someone who could be outside and run these deep go ball routes that can, get the corner to flip their hips and, run with them and come back and run a comeback, like little things like that, in the red zone. I know we have Waller, but we need like a big guy that can just go up and get the ball.
do we have Waller? That's a good point there, Wingo. Do we have Waller?
I think, it's about getting healthy for him, right? I think he really,
He's so good at it.
Dude, this
He's
guy's
so
the
good at
worst.
it.
He's the
he
best. He's
really
the worst.
loves being back. He realized missing the field and the guys in the locker room is why he wanted to come back, and he started to love that again. There was some, injuries here and there, but I think, if he's able to have a healthy off season, right? If he's able to get his body back into shape, clean up a few things, I could see him, wanting to be back out there and be a part of something good next year.
Is he just going to keep rolling over with the Dolphins, or is he going to look at? He's going to look for options.
I think he wants to be at home, right? He wants to be down here in South Florida. So I think it all just comes down to him getting healthy and then making the decision like, hey, do I want to play a full, season? It's a long season. And then that's where you talk about with the coaches and stuff like that, which I actually love to see. I forget which week it was, but it was towards the end of the season. And a lot of guys were asking, why isn't Waller playing, or why isn't Waller playing? Is he not healthy? He was healthy, but, we got to see a little bit of action from some of the other tight ends, right? And it was cool to see, managing some reps here and there. So when you're not having, Waller, when you're backed up in your own end zone, you're having Waller run, that's not who he's supposed to be, right? He's the red zone type of guy. He's, getting the first downs and some of the short yardages, and it's good to see other tight ends get the rotations because that's how you keep guys healthy. We just talked about, the 49ers having Tongues, having Tuletsky, having Kittle, having these different guys rotating in and out. And, I think that is a key part for Waller because, at that age, you can't have a guy go out there and play 65, 70 snaps. You just can't. right? So how is we, like we talked about it, upstairs in the office, going to find ways to allocate to the players that we have in the building?
And I think our tight end room is a lot better than it was 3 months ago, 4 months ago. Like, I think we really found some good stuff in the tight end room. So feel good about that. Last thing I'm going to ask you, as far as putting you on the spot, since we got the conversation going this way, Minka, I know at one point, like, he wanted to be back in South Florida. That's why he came down to South Florida. He got the like rework deal and all that, but he is a free agent and the Dolphins are not in the most desirable situation for a veteran. So where's Minka standing? He's still locked in, or?
Yeah, I think that's something we're definitely working to get done. Take a look from an outside perspective, right? When you look at the back half of the season and the way that the defense was playing, and also most guys might not see it, but how they were on the sidelines, right? Cheering each other on, realizing they had a group of young guys and other guys that were stepping up and loving it and making plays, right? And Minka was right there, being a leader, being consistent. And even when he was hurt, right, those last 2 games, he was involved. He was coaching. He was being a part of it. He was on the sidelines. We were out there for pregame for the second to last game of the season. And, most guys wouldn't be out there, during warmups in the 2.5 hours before the game. Minka was one of the first guys to come out of the locker room and was over there with the DBs while they're warming up. He wants to be a part of this. He wants to be, he's that veteran guy. He's been in the league for a long time. He knows how it works. He knows how it's built to have a successful defense. And he just started something. He started something this year. And, knowing him and knowing his family, he doesn't want to start something he doesn't want to finish, right? So he wants to be able to grow this. He wants to be able to be a part of that leader, to be able to bring Miami Dolphins defense to where it should be.
And Derek, I got news for you, brother. Carnell might go before 11.
That is true.
But we might.
That's not news for Derek.
But we do have a guy that we could pair with Minka. And his name is Caleb Downs.
Dog.
That is true.
I'm just thinking of a world where we either have a Caleb Downs and Minka backfield in the defense, or a Carnell Tate, Achane, Tyreek Waddle offense. Like, bro, either of those picks for us right now would change the identity of this team.
Yeah, so I'm going to give you my perspective for the Dolphins for their first early pick. I think going, a guy like Caleb Downs is bigger than a Carnell Tate, only because, we have guys like Waddle, Tyreek is obviously recovering. We have some younger receivers. I love seeing Theo Weiss out there. I love seeing some of the other guys out there. We have Achane on the offense. There's a lot of weapons on the offense, right? The biggest thing that we struggled with in the offseason was what? Injuries in the back end, right? I couldn't even – I was at some of those practices, and it was guys getting cut that played running back and offensive line because we had to bring up a guy for the defensive backs. And they would have 12 guys, 13 guys over there in the lines. And it was like, that's something that you always can't do, right? But they had to because of the injuries. And they were good players, but it's like you got to figure out a way to manage it. So be able to bring in a young guy that's healthy, that's played at a high level, that's played in the Big Ten, that's a bigger, buffier guy who can come down and play in the box. You look at someone like Minka, right? He's in the box like a linebacker a lot of these times.
I pointed out to Ghost, the Jets guy, said, look at Minka. This does not play safety anymore.
Exactly. This guy's covering half the field, being in the post safety, coming down at backer and playing in the nickel. He's doing it all. So to have somebody next to him like that, I think would be absolutely amazing.
But I'll say this too about Downs. Downs can play in that box, boy.
Ooh.
Downs. Hey, you better ask somebody. Downs don't play around.
It takes some stress off Minka and his body. Let him go play the post and put Downs down there in the box.
Yeah, Minka needs to make the sale. Let the boys know. You want me back? Bring in Caleb.
Let the boy watch.
Let the boy watch.
My only concern here is I think Downs also going to be going. I really wanted to, in a dream world, everybody's like, it doesn't matter where you pick if you're not picked the right. Yeah, whatever. I want to pick 8. I don't care about, you can tell me all that. That's true. But why would you not rather have 8 than 11? And to me, you needed to get to 8 just to have a chance at some of these guys. People do pass on safety because of the value in the top 5, but maybe he drops to 8 because they don't want to draft the safety. But I don't see Caleb Downs. I don't care safety or not. He's too valuable. He's too versatile. I think he's going to blow people away in the meetings. Caleb Downs probably going before 11.
Yeah,
I hope not.
He'd be an unbelievable pick. And Miami's just got to take the approach of best player available. It doesn't matter who it is this year. It's too many years of let's take this developmental guy because we really need a tackle here. We really need a defensive guy here. And I mean, Patrick Paul worked out better than anyone could possibly imagine this year. That man silently played a full season. Okay. Never talked about him because he never gave up any sacks or bad plays.
Sorry, somebody just go.
Chill.
That's all good.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah. But yeah, Caleb Downs would be a dream.
Slam the over, Ollie.
I would say too, I think most people in the outside world don't realize how these draft picks work, right? You know, you have your scripted first round picks, right? This is who we're going to pick. This is who we're going to pick. But if one team, all it takes is one team to go
The Raiders
script and pick somebody or trade up, it screws up everybody else on the back end. Because let's say we were going to go get an offensive tackle, and now someone trade up and got a quarterback that was going to be our second round pick. Well, now we have to pivot and take this. So it screws up everybody's pick. So guys got to realize that sometimes, you know, we want to get this guy first, but now that somebody traded up and messed up the whole order, well, now we realize they're going to have to bump back. So we might be able to take this person later on with our other pick.
We've all kind of experienced that during our fantasy drafts, when everyone kind of tries to screw everybody out of their picks, and you're sending them text messages, you're cursing them out. So, but yeah, I can't imagine like the pressure on an actual professional level with billions of dollars worth of an organization that it rides on your back.
Hey,
what's the movie with who is it with the Bears when they're in the draft room and they're doing the
Browns.
Draft
Day.
That's what we need.
Dude, I can't wait for the War Room videos from Wingo for content. Telling Drew to eat his pancakes.
I did, before we leave tonight, I did want to get into the college playoffs a little bit.
Hell yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Miami,
You guys go with that?
Of course, Miami's in the playoffs.
Because Daddy was right. Come on. All right, listen, that game, the Miami-Ohio State game, scripted out exactly how I said it would. First time on this podcast, I was right, and it felt amazing.
First time I was right. Yeah.
Like, this is the first time I've ever called one. Like, I fucking called it. I just knew it. And now Ole Miss scares the fuck out of me. The absolute shit. The one thing I said on that podcast that day was that Sand wasn't mobile enough to scare me.
Hold the hell
and
up.
that boy Chambliss got some wheels, dog.
Yeah.
And the issue with the mobile quarterbacks is I feel like he's gonna tire out the D line, man. These boys, Mesidor and Boehner, if Mesidor even plays, they're just gonna be so tired. Because even in that game in the second half, once they started to really get the ball going, those boys were a little exhausted at the end of the game. So that's what really makes me nervous. I feel like he's an equalizer for our D line.
I think the U, especially throughout, you know, their run in this playoffs, being, you know, the 10 seed, they thrive off of like those game-changing turnovers.
Yeah.
And it's like, how long can you sustain that? Like watching that Ohio State game with the turnovers, like immediate turnovers, I'm like, dude, this is why they're probably gonna win this game, because they're just getting the ball back at every single worst opportunity they would have for Ohio State. It's like, how sustainable is that? I mean, it could be if they dogs in both games and they won.
I think they're favored in this game now.
Yeah. So now they're favored.
Which scares the shit out of me. I'm not happy about it.
But Ole Miss is playing that like inspired brand of football.
And they just lost all their coaches.
Yeah, like all their coaches are gone. The whole Lane Kiff thing is out the door, and it's just like,
two are still coaching though for the game.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, they'll still be coaching.
What do you think, Derek?
So I think it's exciting, you know, to be able to see, you know, Miami have an opportunity to play in Miami for the national championship. You know, and I would say the biggest thing is, you know, sorry, I'm actually just reading that on my phone. The biggest thing is, you know, when you look at teams like this, you play to the level of competition. And that's what people don't realize. And, you know, Miami was the underdog going to Ohio State. I didn't think Miami was going to be able to pull it off. But looking at Miami, it's like they almost had nothing to lose, right? It's like you play to such a higher level of competition. And I will say I don't even know if I can say this, but when I was speaking to a couple coaches of a team that was playing, they were speaking towards the future as if that game was going to be won. So it was almost as if it was overlooked, right? And that goes right back to not taking things for granted and just, playing with a chip on your shoulder. And that's what Miami did. So I will say that, if Miami is able to pull this off, I will gladly be repping the South Florida and be out here throwing it up.
Oh my God.
I'll have to give you guys a background of that.
I'm
picture.
trying to get it up here, but I can't.
Yeah,
I don't want to. I
the
can't
full
out you.
Picture was actually me. It was me, Jordan Battle, Kenny McIntosh, and Jaden Davis on an official visit to Florida back in, I think it was 2016 or 2017, and Mike Harley hopped on the live we were on and was like, throw up to you. So we all went like this, not realizing we're in full Florida Gators gear. And he screenshotted it and posted on Twitter, and it just went viral everywhere.
Jesus.
Damn.
It's okay. We will recover.
Yeah.
Speaking of, didn't Florida just lose Lagway?
They did just lose Lagway, but they just signed the quarterback from Georgia Tech.
Ooh.
That's like a perfect way, like segue into the whole transfer portal. It just gets crazier and crazier every year. And we don't know too much about that at the back end. You have obviously your firsthand, representation for transfer portal, college athletes, NIL, all of that. Like, what's going on with transfer portal, man?
Yeah, so I almost think it's a part of it's ruined college football, right? We just changed it this year to now just the one transfer window. If you look at the numbers, there's over 5,000 kids, in college football in the transfer portal. That's 1/3 of the actual players, right? And guys got to realize the grass isn't always green on the other side. There's guys that's not getting offers, that are not going to go to a school at all, just because they weren't willing to suck their ego up and be a backup because they were a 4-star coming out and not being able to trust the process and do these things. But yeah, it is free agency every single year, and there's no rules, there's no parameters, there's tampering going on, there's all these different things, and it's like, we don't have any way to manage it. So it's, for agents, we're getting, hundreds of calls every day from this school and this school. That's why they have the new thing when you enter the transfer portal. You can go in on no contact, meaning that, we can only contact the certain schools that we're interested in. But if you don't, you have schools hitting you up 24/7. I got people calling me at 7 a.m, 12 at night. Like it's nonstop, 24/7, want to talk, want to hear background knowledge. So it's really just, free agency, and it's negotiating money here, money that, and it's, this school's offering me this, and it's the payment structures and moving around with the cap. Cause now there it goes. now there's a cap salaries. Now these colleges have GMs, assistant GMs. They're trying to make it like a NFL office, right? But you also got to realize you're dealing with 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds. So, I mean, and I'll tell you this because I had to deal with it recently. And I've actually heard, other agents and other people that I know of that's had to deal with it as well. How do you go, a kid coming out of high school, right? You're getting paid all this money. And then what happens when you don't produce the first year, right? They look at you and say, hey, we can't pay you this money. We got to reduce your salary. But you got to realize, you're also talking to a 17-year-old, right? That can be hard sometimes to tell the family that. But now, as a 17-year-old, right, you signed up for this, right? You chose to be this high caliber athlete. You said you wanted to be treated like a professional, right? You wanted to be on that high pedestal. So if you're not performing, you're not putting out numbers, you're not doing what the organization thought you were going to do, you're not going to get paid. And that's exactly how it is in the NFL. So it's good that guys are going to have to realize that, right, on this such short of an age and how young they are. But, it's tough to say a guy, hey, if you're making $1 million and you didn't do this, right, we're not going to pay you $1 million for the next year. So these are conversations that we're having to have sometimes, which is difficult. But, that's just the way that it works now.
What are you – so when you give us a – sorry. Do you give us a you don't have to use names or teams or anything like that, but give us like an example of like the level of tampering that's going on right now.
So I don't even know about it. I'll just speak on it just based off of what I would assume and what I've kind of heard in the background. So when you look at a guy, I won't name any names, but when you look at, so if you're a top player at a university, right, you're not even in the portal. You weren't even thinking about it. Or let's say maybe you lost a head coach, you lost a position coach, right? These schools all see that as like blood in the water, right? We're going after them. And not only maybe they had a prior relationship with him in high school. Maybe they know somebody that knows somebody. Maybe they're from his hometown or this and that. It's not hard to get somebody's phone number and call them. It's not hard to shoot a text over and do this, and everybody's doing it. So no one's going to, screenshot it and send it to compliance. And, hey, this person's tampering here. Maybe eventually it will come out and somebody will do that, but nobody does it because they're doing the exact same thing. So if one person snitches, everybody's snitching all. So it's like, it's an opportunity to, reach out to these guys illegally. And, they're getting away with it, which is scary because, just because you think you're safe and you have your star quarterback, you got Bob Joe University on the corner knocking with a stack of $5 million.
Knocking.
Come on to my school. So it's difficult.
Dude, let me ask you though. So are there levels of payment? Like, is there any structure to where it's like, all right, this guy is a 5-star. 5 stars start at $1 million. 4 stars start at 500,000. Like, is there anything like based off that? Or
well, there is a little bit of a market, and there is a little bit of, I know there's something that came out that actually measured what each person in each position should be paid. I actually remember this because I was in a meeting with Coach Billy Napier one time, and we were talking about NIL just casually and having a conversation. He brought up a great idea and mentioned, we should have a tier system. If you're a starter, you're getting paid this, right? And if you do certain things, maybe you get paid a little bit extra. Maybe you're a higher caliber player. There's like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. Because when you get to college football, nobody cares if you're a 4-star, 5-star, 3-star, 1-star, 2-star. Right? It does not matter. And you could be a 1-star starting over somebody else and not be getting paid as much. But then again, I look back at a guy like Brock Purdy, right? You got a quarterback in the NFL who was outperforming his paycheck. And, right, he was one of the top quarterbacks in the league, but he was still playing on his rookie contract. Once that was over, he was, rewarded for how he played.
Yeah.
So for these younger guys that are expecting to get this lump sum of money, right, you got to prove yourself first. Let's prove yourself. Let's get on the field. Let's have some production so that when we get later on down the road, we can now reward you for the success and the success you were having on the future. So, I really don't agree with paying guys these crazy amount of money before they even step foot on campus. Maybe a few guys here and there, but, it's really gotten out of hand with how some of it is.
With that being said,
I was going to ask about Malachi Toney. Do you think a guy like Malachi Toney got paid before going?
I think somebody like him could have gotten paid before going just because
he was young. He's 17. So that's
because of the caliber of player and look at him now, and he produced. And that's the risk that you have to be willing to take. So now let's take Malachi Toney, right? If he didn't perform to the way he would this year, now imagine having that conversation, go down the family and say, hey, I know we gave you $1 million last year, but we can only give you $250 this next upcoming year. And he goes out this next year, which is his second year, and now is able to produce because he's been in the program, been in the system. Now he plays like $1 million player, and now you're looking at each other crazy. So it's a weird conversation that you have to have, but it's cap space, right? You have your cap space, you have your third party, but there's only so much money at each school, and you got to allocate it, somewhere in some way to be able to organize it all.
Now this could be something you've seen personally or just something you've heard of. What is the craziest NIL deal you've ever seen or heard?
Money wise,
like top dollar.
Actually, very recently. I won't name any names or who it was. Maybe if you do some research, you can probably figure it out.
I might know it. Let's see if I can get it.
Yeah, but there's obviously there's been a lot of good quarterback deals going out lately. I'll give you a little bit of insight of what it looks like. So it looks how they'll do like a base salary and they'll do certain things like that. And the biggest thing is you can't do pay for play. That's just something you can't do at schools. But there's ways around it that you can kind of, figure something out. But, the base salary is what you're looking for, right? That's the guaranteed money. And that's what, these schools are willing to do. And how the cap space works is it resets in like June normally. So what they're able to do sometimes is lump sum a big amount of money. And then once June, that next month after June, they're able to kind of lump sum a whole bunch of money. So you can do, 2-year contracts. Maybe you can do, it is almost free agency year round. I know the portal ends in 10 days from today. It's crazy. And a lot of these guys aren't going to have a home, right? A lot of these guys are not going to be able to find a school to go to, which is sad because every kid and every kid's parents, moms, dads, uncles thinks they're worth $1 million.
Yeah.
And, you got to realize at the end of the day, I almost laughed in someone's face the other day because they were pissed off because they got $400,000. And,
God.
it was at a school out west, and they got $400,000, and they were upset because their kid didn't play, but they were only getting $400,000. They could get more. And I almost looked at him like, you got to realize, like, most people in America don't make $400,000. Like, it blows my mind. Think, you could go to school for all 4 years, make $400,000. You're walking out with 1.6 million, right? You should have you should be able to buy a house. You should be able to, have investments. You should be able to be set and not even step foot in the NFL and be set for a long time with a stable job. And it blows my mind sometimes how ungrateful people could be with the resources, connections, and what they're actually given in college football.
You didn't give us the number.
Back in my day, the boys didn't get paid.
You didn't give us the damn number.
It was a lot. I know I saw that the Texas Tech quarterback, I saw that number at like $5 million. I haven't seen that contract, so I'm not sure how it was kind of played out. But, there's been numbers that's been, in those millions and in those. But the biggest thing, and it's split up a little bit. It's split up, in revenue share and third party, and it's split up in all these different things and how they pay it. So it's a cool way that they do it. Every school does it differently. I've seen schools that have completely botched it, and I've seen schools that have done a good job with it. So, it's interesting to see. I'm curious to see how they're going to continue to do it, because I feel like the market is just going to continue to go up now. You look at Jamar Chase in the NFL, just reset the wide receiver market. Now you see the guy at Texas A&M just reset the wide receiver market. And this is just going to continue to happening over and over and over. The cap space is going to have to rise, and it's going to be an ongoing downhill spiral.
Have you heard anything about Dylan Raiola?
I actually have not. No.
What about? I'm just throwing this out there for the Canes fans. But,
no, yeah, I actually have not.
No, I got one more. It's better than that. Jeremiah Smith. Any real legs to him leaving Ohio State?
I don't think he does. I just don't see it being realistic. For what? Why would he leave? Right. I know he's boys with Malachi. I know he wants to be back home, but it's like, you have a legacy. That was my biggest thing at State University of Florida, right? Having a place to bring your family back, having a place that you built something. Because when you have guys that transfer 3 or 4 times, like, what school did you go to? Like, I went to, like, you can't do that, right? And you have a guy like Jeremiah Smith, who is a, legacy wide receiver, who's one of a generation. It's like, he could be the standard of Ohio State, right? I almost have forgot. I mean, it might be kind of crazy take, but I haven't forgotten the Chris Olaves and the Jackson Smith and the Jigba. I haven't forgot that. But it's like, when I think Ohio State, I think Jeremiah Smith right now. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking, right? So don't tarnish that by going to another school. You have an opportunity to be one of the greatest, wide receivers of all time to come out of Ohio State. Obviously, they have an amazing list with what Hartline was able to do over there with his receiving room, but I don't see him leaving.
Sorry, Canes. Sorry, Joe.
I already knew that, but it sounds cool. It sounds cool when you go to sleep at night.
He can wait a couple more years and come on home. You know what I'm saying?
One more year.
Dude, with all these changes in the NCAA, I could see it getting to a point, and I was talking to Bobby about this, where the 12-team playoff turns into March Madness, and we have 64-team playoff. We get rid of the bowl games. 64 teams get a bid. Each it's all. Dude, hear me out. 8 to 10 week season. Get rid of the out of conference games, the bullshit Grambling State games, right? You play your 8 to 10 conference games. You have a 6-week playoff season, and nobody can bitch. You had 64 teams in, and you know what? Week 1 of the playoffs, the 1 seed should beat the 16 seed. It should, but you never know, because football's a little different, and I feel like that's gonna end up happening.
The first thing I'll say, this is the only thing I know about anything that would be a problem. You said get rid of those out of conference bullshit games, but that's how those small schools literally make their money. Like, they get paid $3 million to get their ass kicked by Alabama. They get paid $5 million to let Alabama come over there and beat the shit out of them.
Fair.
That's how they get their money. That really is how them schools get their money. Unless you're App State and then you beat their ass.
Yeah. They do got to change the system a little. I forget who. Somebody organized it and broke it down, but they need to have it where, the playoffs, the national championship or whatever is, January 1st or something like that. So that, if they're making coaches change, if their guys going in the portal, they're able to do that after the season, which is, when you look at a guy like, Lane Kiffin, I know that, he was already at a prominent school, right? And he's going to another good school, but it's like, obviously he wants to finish that season out, right? He wants to be a part of that. That's something that he wanted to do. It's like, it blows my mind to see, coaches wanting to sometimes take, not using just Lane as an example, but coaches maybe possibly want to take a better opportunity somewhere else, or a player knows that he's going to transfer, but wants to be able to finish with not only just his team, but his university or whatever it might be. And they can't do that because of, the transfer portal and the playoffs and this and that. And I know there's a window for guys that are, going to the national championship. They won't even be able to go to it because they'll have to enter the portal before. So it's just, they got to imagine being a second or third string running back who has part-time play and is somewhat of a role for that team and has had the chance to go to the national championship, but knows they're going to go to a new school and just can't finish out their season strong and have an opportunity to win a national championship. For me, that would be hard to hear, to know that I've worked so hard this entire year. Yes, I am leaving that school. I get that. Yes, I am going to have a better opportunity to play somewhere else. But at the end of the day, if you start something, let's finish it, right? It would be amazing to be able to have opportunities for coaches and players to finish all around the same time so that, we go in the off season. Now it's free agency. Now you want to go to a new school. You want to coach somewhere else, go coach somewhere else.
Unreal. Yeah, it's a mess for sure.
Boys, what an episode.
Yeah, almost 1,400 people watched this live, which is absolutely absurd. We appreciate all of you.
That is nuts.
It's insane. That's one of the highest we've ever
And we
had.
all know that they really came for the Outcast cigars.
They did.
So we're clear.
They came for the
Shout out
Outcast cigars.
I was going to say the
Wingo
Wingo effect, but whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go.
Dang,
go.
Wingo, how'd you get that?
Wingo calls that one the oh yeah year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm gonna say this because it's just funny. I told Wingo this the other day, but obviously we love Wingo now. He's one of the boys. He'll be on here a lot more often because we got another guy in paternity leave. But somebody told me the other day, they said, "Man, how's everything going, Wingo?" I was like, "Oh, great, dude. He's one of the boys. He had his first solo episode. He did good. The numbers were awesome. He's been an awesome addition." And they go, "Man, that guy just looks good on screen, don't he?" yeah, he does. He goes, "Man, that was smart on y'all's part. That dude, that was a great addition." I was like, I had no clue that's where they were headed, but yeah, no, it's a great addition. We're happy. We're happy to have you on, Wingo.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. I'm excited for the future, and we got a lot of stuff in the works. So I'm excited to kind of see where this all builds in 2026.
Oh, and I will say this. This is besides the fact, but I know these boys get hyped. Me and Wingo had a meeting of the minds the other day. And, dude, Wingo gave me a little peek. We kind of compared our Rolodexes a little bit on what we could do this offseason. Let me tell you, boys.
Yeah.
I think we're going to outdo any offseason we've ever done here. And we've had some damn offseasons. I truly believe that. So I do want to say that. I'm hype about it. We got some awesome shit coming this offseason. There will be no stone unturned.
But first, Harbaugh. Let's go, boys.
Wingo,
Harbaugh.
do we have a connection to John Harbaugh?
All right, let's get Harbaugh on the dive bar. That's it. It's coming on.
We'll see.
All right, boys. Another great episode. Shout out to Outcast Cigars, obviously our sponsor this episode and all episodes. And appreciate y'all fellas for hanging out tonight.